I'll begin with you. Eli Roth, how are you?
I'm good. Happy to be back in Toronto. Midnight Madness, my favorite way to see a movie.
Oh, absolutely. Why is it important for a film like this to be shown late at night?
Well, I mean, scary movies are always best late at night, and it's really much more like where if there's the more Academy Award-winning movies or earlier in the day, Midnight Madness is like the punk rock section.
Yeah.
And
it's easier to get late later.
You can see we're a couple of punks.
Yeah. And over to you for just a second. Is it hard to work with, I mean, I'm obsessed with Eli, but is it hard to work with somebody like Eli who has directed before and he's acting in this, when
I know,
you're worried about telling him to do something, right?
Yeah, no, he was a good guy during the whole shooting.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you do that again better? Start.
Yeah, okay.
See?
Yeah, I know. Now it starts, then it gets crazy. No, the thing with Eli is that we're friends, so we always see that as a collaboration, so I'm the director here, but now I'm producing Eli's next movie, so for me it's like whoever has the better idea wins, and that was the whole approach to making this movie, it was all about collaborating and making the best movie possible between both of us.
Now the thing with horror films, and I've spoken with you a number of times, and I think you guys do fantastic work. Tell me about the scenario in this movie and why you chose to do sort of like a touristy thing for this movie where they're all a bunch of tourists and they meet together. Why was it important to have that as your storyline?
Well, the movie is actually based on the real events that happened during the earthquake in Chile. So, and I'm from Chile, of course. You can notice my very Chilean accent. And
I would have guessed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah, I sound Italian. That's way better than Chilean. So it's classy. But I'm a barefoot Chilean, so that's the truth. And the idea was, how can we shoot a movie in Chile for a price and do it fast? And the earthquake happened, and that was the big idea. When the earthquake happened, we were like, we have to make a movie about this. And when Eli came to Santiago to scout the movie, we were calling him Gringo all the time. Like, everybody was calling him, oh, Lopez is with a gringo. And we were like, you know what, your character has to be a gringo that traveled from the U.S. to Chile, And
also, the Chileans are very polite. If you don't speak Spanish, they'll speak English around you. So we thought, all right, we don't want to make a Spanish language movie. We want a movie that has Spanish and English, and what makes the most sense? So actually, when he had a friend who was American staying with him when the earthquake hit. So that was a lot of American tourists go down to Chile. There's music festivals, but also there are a lot of models that do shoots in Santiago. It's one of the big model photo shoot destinations.
Now, okay, so let me ask you, why Selena Gomez?
Why not? We love her.
Yeah, but it was funny because, I mean, is it you want her in the movie because you love her, or it's like you want to be the first to kill her off in a movie?
No, Selena.
No, well, she was a fan of Hostel. Well, Eli can tell you that story.
Yeah, Selena's a fan of my movies, and we'd met, and we've been talking about working together, and then this opportunity came up where she actually contacted me and said we should figure out a time to get down, really figure out what we can do together. And I said, well, I'm in Chile. And it turns out she was coming to Santiago to do a concert. And I said, why don't you just come by the set and say hi, and she could meet Nicolas. So she came by the set and hung out for like 4 hours. We had a great time. And then the next night after her concert, she came back, and we're like, let's just put her in the movie. We wrote a scene and just put her in this cameo. We just did it for fun, but really just to see how we work together. And we had a great time. She's a great girl.
Eli, I want to ask you this because, I mean, a lot of your I love your stuff, and you know that. Hostel, about traveling. This movie, it's tourists. I fear that you're killing off the tourism business.
Well, or not. I think that what's interesting is that what Eli is doing with this movie is that he's showing Latin America that has never been shown before. All the movies that come from Latin America, they are basically about barefoot kids with guns, like City of God. They are that kind of movies that I call porn poverty, because it's all about showing, how poor people are.
Yeah.
And that's not the Latin America where I live. My Latin America is very hip. Like in Santiago, Chile, we have our own version of Lollapalooza. The city is very similar to Toronto or to any modern city. Everybody's on Twitter, everybody's on Facebook. That's my world. So we wanted to show that version of Latin America and also show how all of that can get destroyed with an earthquake, and that also could happen in LA. You know?
I have to get your opinion though about my comment about you killing off tourism with like Hostel, and I'm just like, because after I watched Hostel, I was afraid to travel for a little while. I'm like, well, I don't want to go to a hotel. I just watched Hostel. I mean, they're gonna kill me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that everybody has fears of other cultures, but I love shooting in different locations, and it's a great way to be able to shoot a movie in another location and have that movie in English.
Yeah.
If you have a group of people going there that are English speakers. But I also think that people don't travel anyways. 12% of Americans own a passport, so I'm not the one killing off the tourist industry. Americans don't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to exploit that in the movie.
They're afraid.
But those that do travel love it. I also think that when there's beautiful girls in a movie, guys will risk death to tour there.
Yeah, of course.
It's so true. Is it hard to date you, Eli Roth? Because everyone's afraid that, you know, because of what's going on in your head with horror movies?
No, I think I'm very easy to date. I think I'm very wonderful dateable. But, you know, there's...
He's the horror George Clooney.
There are a lot of girls out there that love horror movies.
Really?
And, yeah.
Well, case in point, Selena Gomez loving Hostel, right?
She loves, yeah. Everybody loves horror movies. So I think that it's actually the opposite effect.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Do I need to respond if it is hard to date you? Well, as a director, it's very hard to date Eli Roth. No, he's a sweet guy.
Before we wrap up, because I have to ask this of both of you. We'll start off with yourself and then the same
Okay.
question for you, but I'll have to ask it twice for
Of
editing
course.
purposes. What was the first movie you remember seeing in a movie theater?
The first one for me was Back to the Future Part 2. And I didn't know that there was a Back to the Future Part 1. So for me, Back to the Future Part 1 is the prequel of Back to the Future Part 2.
That's
you know?
effing hilarious.
Yeah, because it was the summer of '89, I think. So all the movies that I was watching, they were sequels. So then I went to see Ghostbusters Part 2, and they were like, there is a Part 1. I was like, what? Why? How does this work? You know, like, why I'm seeing it, you know?
I could see why you're friends with this guy. This
You
guy's
know?
hilarious.
So it was crazy, but that was the first movie, and because of that movie, I decided that I wanted to be a director. I had
Yeah.
so much fun, you know, and I wanted to live in that version of the future that doesn't exist, which is lame. You know, there are no flying cars. I don't have a DeLorean, but it was really cool, you know. And in that moment, I was like, I want to be a movie director. That was the first movie that I remembered seeing. That I remember like having a good time.
Yeah.
You know. So I was like 8 years old.
And then I'll re-ask it again. Eli Roth, what is the first movie you remember seeing in a movie theater?
Star Wars, the first movie I remember seeing in a theater. And I remember it being this event that everyone talked about. And we went to go see it. And it's, you know, I remember The Wizard of Oz, but I don't remember actually seeing it in a theater. But I was 6 when Star Wars came out. That I remember going to the theaters to see. Changed my world.
I can't wait for the answer of this. Eli Roth, let's just pretend right now we're in one of your movies.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here filming you with the head cam
Yes.
as such. And I'm about to die.
Yes.
How would I die in the movie that is the head cam interview?
Oh,
That's what I'm calling it, head cam interview.
The piece of ceiling falls down and crushes your head cam and goes through your skull. And the camera starts looking out through where your eyeballs were, through your eye sockets.
I love that it's just like, boom, he knows right away.
Yeah,
like,
so
as though
then-
you were
so then
thinking
it's a
I would...
found footage movie, you know, where somebody finds the cell. The
But you know
camera.
what scares me though is that I bet you were sitting there thinking this the whole time, like this. I want this guy to die, and here's how it's going to happen. Like you already thought it out.
No, it's more instinctual at this point. It just comes to me as soon as you ask the question.
Okay, let's do it one more time. The Roz and Mocha show with me. So there's Roz, tall, white, skinny guy. Mocha, brown, short, brown guy, and then me, the gay Jew. Well, that's funny. You were like a Jew in that other movie with Quentin Tarantino, and I'm the gay Jew on our show. How would each one of us die?
Having
Well-
hot sex, of course.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, as soon as he said gay Jew, I
Gay
immediately pictured you sandwiched in between the two of them.
Yeah.
And that's how I die?
Well, that's
Die
when
of
the
pleasure.
That's when the earthquake happens, and you guys get smushed into a big. You become something resembling
There were
a
many people.
macaroon.
There were many people having sex when the earthquake hit. You know, so
His brother was having
yeah,
sex.
my brother
when
was
he
having
hit.
sex. Yeah,
No kidding.
yeah, and suddenly he was like, "Oh, this is cool." And
That's
he was
hilarious.
Like, what the fuck? You know?
Well, I remember there was like this massive blackout in Toronto like a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
the same thing happened to me. It was VHS. Porn was on VHS at the time, and I hit play, and the power went off. I thought I did something wrong.
Yeah, it's terrible. No, it was crazy in the earthquake. Nobody's grinder worked. It was
Yeah.
awful.
Awesome, guys. Once again, another amazing, fun interview with you, and such a pleasure to meet you.
Oh,
You're
thank
so
you.
funny. Thank you so much, guys.
You can check out his movie Promedio Rojo. His first one that's on Netflix.
But let's promote, of course, this movie,
Aftershock.
Aftershock, at TIFF
Aftershock.
tonight,
Festival.
midnight,
Midnight, yeah.
Madness,
Yeah.
And then it runs
TIFF.net.
again on Thursday as well. We'll be there at
Yeah.
that screening too.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, guys. So great to see you again, and
No,
nice to
thank
meet
you.
you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.